It's the 8th birthday of the Nintendo Switch! And also its funeral. Sometimes it feels like the blink of an eye, other times it feels like a lifetime, but I was there 8 years ago for the reveal, the hype, and the release of the Nintendo Switch. I was there as a happy player for the entirety of its 8-year lifespan. In 2023, I moved on from the base model of the Switch and graduated to the Tears of the Kingdom OLED edition, and continued having grand memories of that system. Of course, the Nintendo Switch had its faults. Joy-Con drift was a mess, and navigating through the shovelware-filled hellscape of the Nintendo eShop was always a sluggish pain. But moreover, the Switch had class, quality, and innovation that other members of the games industry have since endeavored to imitate. Since the death of the Switch brings about the birth of the Switch 2, and since the Switch is an inanimate object, we're not really here to mourn for the Switch, but to celebrate the long life that it had. And I cannot think of a better way to celebrate the 8-year life of the Nintendo Switch than to list the top 10 games I played on the system. Including Nintendo Switch Online emulators and bundles, I possessed over 100 games in my Switch library and have narrowed down my collection to the 10 games that gave me the best experiences on the system. To be honest, there are a total of 12 games on this list actually, but I take 2 games and put them in the same entry a couple of times because I felt that 2 sets of similar games taking up 4 of the 10 entries would make for a rather boring top 10 list. There are also plenty of games on this list that are not exclusive to the Nintendo Switch, but my experience with these games still took place on the Switch, which is why they made it to this list nevertheless. Animal Crossing New Horizons deserves a spot on this list just for releasing at the time that it did. It was March 2020, and the pandemic lockdowns just barely kicked off. On day 5 of the pandemic, it was highly discouraged for anyone to go to the store unless you had to buy something that was absolutely essential. And it's safe to say many other people, saw Animal Crossing New Horizons as an essential item. New Horizons is responsible for providing hours of entertainment for so many people during that wild time and providing a fun way for friends and family to stay connected by visiting each other's islands. Since its release, I've restarted my island a few times, and every time it's lots of fun to decorate my island with lots of items, build a community for my happy animal neighbors, catch fish, grow plants, and have my finances exploited by this freaking raccoon!
Mario Kart 8!
It's the best-selling game on the Nintendo Switch, and for a good reason. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is absolutely the definitive Mario Kart experience. For now. This game was originally released on the Wii U and was great back then, but with the additional content of the Switch release, along with the Booster Course Pass, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is packed to the brim with 96 courses, over 40 characters, and a nearly endless amount of kart combinations. It is very evident that a new Mario Kart will premiere alongside the Switch 2, but it has big shoes to fill. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe has found its way into many homes as an irreplaceable treasure of a racing game. Number 8 is one of those 2-for-1 specials I was talking about at the beginning of the video, because if I talk about Ori and the Blind Forest, I have to talk about Ori and the Will of the Wisps, and vice versa. The Ori games are side-scrolling adventures that have main character Ori traverse through a visually stunning fantasy world. Ori and the Blind Forest takes you through a beautiful 12-hour story, while Ori and the Will of the Wisps doubles the time of the first game, is just as gorgeous, and it greatly improves the combat to make Ori an agile and deadly weapon in the palm of your hands. Not only are the visuals and the music of the Ori games so beautiful, but the themes of family, loss, hope, and healing are just as profound. I am not a Fire Emblem fan at all. No. But dang, I really like Fire Emblem Three Houses. The best way I can describe the vibe of Three Houses is anime Hogwarts during the Middle Ages. The game has two modes of play. When you're hanging out at the school, you're teaching your students combat, putting them into different classes, cooking food with them, returning their lost belongings, and tons of other stuff to build your relationship with them. When you're on the battlefield, you and your students move across the battlefield like chess pieces and apply the combat skills that you taught them at the school part of the game. What sets Three Houses apart from the rest of the Fire Emblem games is that relationship building is taken to the next level. If you build a strong bond with one of your students, they will absolutely obliterate enemies on the battlefield. If you don't give them as much attention at school, however, they'll be weaker in battle. Through the dialogue and the combat, the character building in this game feels so genuine and organic. You truly grow to care for the students who you teach and fight with, and it really amplifies the enjoyment of this game. And it totally crushes your soul when you have to kill them in the second half of the story. Yeah, Fire Emblem Three Houses is a sad game, but in the best way. Amongst the sea of indie titles available on the Nintendo Switch, Undertale is the second brightest gem amongst them. Toby Fox poured so much creativity, charm, and wit into this little game. You try it out for the retro Earthbound vibes, but you stay for the endearing characters and the heartfelt story. You know, everyone's entitled to their wrong opinions and their hot takes, so y'all better watch out, cause I'm about to unload on y'all. I don't like JRPGs. I'm very picky about the anime I watch, and I'm not a fan of M-rated games. But I absolutely adore Persona 5 Royal. For me personally, Persona 5 Royal is the Pokemon killer. This right here is the box of death. It's the four corners of boring, turn-based combat and rote repetition for hundreds of hours, but in Persona 5 Royal, the combat system is like bam, boom, bang, pow! Turn-based combat in this game is just so fresh, fun, and it never gets old. Every supporting character on your team is so cool, and even the characters who you can't play as are still cool. At times, I felt the lengthiness of the 100 plus hour story of this game, but every time I booted it up, it didn't take long to remember how much fun Persona 5 Royal is. For a gamer who avoids the JRPG genre like a disease, Persona 5 Royal stole my heart, and I can't wait for my next playthrough.
Super Mario Odyssey!
Super Mario Odyssey is a super special game. It is such a pleasure learning all the tricks and flips with Cappy. Getting moons in hard to reach places makes you feel like a genius. Each world is so vast, detailed, and chock full of neat surprises. The capture mechanic is mind-blowing. You can be a Goomba. You can be a Chain Chomp. You can be the letter M. You can be Jurassic Park. Super Mario Odyssey is such a blessing of a game, and it left me dying for another wonderful Mario game on the Switch. It's a shame that each Nintendo console only gets one 3D Mario adventure though. Except for the Wii, you lucky punk. The map makes your eyes bleed, the boss fights make you swear like a sailor, but Hollow Knight is so spectacular that even its sequel is too scared to show its face to the world. You step into the game of Hollow Knight for the cutesy 2D art style, but it doesn't take long for the mysterious story and dark lore to sweep you away into the massive world of Hollow Nest. Hollow Knight released during a time when the young indie genre was blossoming. The general audience saw indie games as fun little cutesy games to play when you need a break from larger AAA games. Despite the small $15 price tag, however, Hollow Knight was one of the indie titles that shattered that perception by showing players how massive and deep indie games can really be when they finally decide to release. The only gripe that I have with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is that the DLC fighters got more lame with each fighter pass. But that is all forgivable because the number one fighter on my wish list was the very first new fighter that was revealed for Ultimate. I've dreamt of Ridley joining the echelon of Smash fighters since the GameCube days with Super Smash Bros. Melee. Having Samus's arch nemesis as a playable fighter was a dream come true, and I feel like Super Smash Bros. Ultimate made dreams come true for a lot of people. I feel like the older I get, and the older the video game industry gets, the farther away we get from the days of split-screen multiplayer, where you can gather around the couch with friends and family to have some quality, fun time over video games. Nowadays, the general video game experience is more isolated, with those multiplayer experiences mostly being set online with microphone communication. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate was a blessing of a game because it was one of the very few multiplayer games on the Switch that got friends and family members to gather together in one room, have tons of fun together, and make hours seem like sweet short minutes. Masahiro Sakurai, from myself, my friends, and the gaming community, thank you so much for the time, passion, and effort that you and your team put into Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, the Super Smash Bros. Series, and everything else that you do to contribute to the video game industry. My final entry on this list is another 2-for-1 special. These are the best games I played on the Switch, and the latter of the two is my favorite video game of all time. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. In 2014, we were given footage of Zelda Wii U for the first time. Zelda Wii U promised not only to be the next epic entry in the Legend of Zelda series, but it also promised to be the next epic entry in the open world genre of video games. See that mountain over there? You can go there. If something catches your eye along the way, you have the freedom to interact with it if you choose. Do you want to just go straight to the final boss? You can do that. This was the kind of freedom that Nintendo fans have wanted in a Zelda game for years. 3 years later, and with an official title, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild premiered alongside the Nintendo Switch and delivered on all of its promises of unprecedented open world freedom in a video game. After pouring so many hours into Breath of the Wild, I knew that it was a wonderful game, but I also knew that it only scratched the surface of what an open world Zelda game could do. 6 years later, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom released and built upon the world that Breath of the Wild established and made it an even better experience to roam the land, sky, and depths of Hyrule. See that mountain over there? Not only can you go there, but you might be able to go inside of it as well. See that structure high up in the sky? You can go up there now with no loading screen and without a cutscene interruption. Still want to go straight to the final boss? You can do that and probably get murdered right away. Tears of the Kingdom deserves its own video, but for now, I'll say that Tears of the Kingdom paired with Breath of the Wild are the most wonderful video gaming experiences I've had. The Switch 2 has the Herculean task of topping this duo of excellent games. You may have noticed that I didn't talk much about the music in these games. That's because I would have said the same thing in every entry. The music in all 12 of these games are absolutely phenomenal. The Nintendo Switch not only provided me with awesome gaming experiences, but it also gave me many wonderful musical experiences as well. I'm gonna miss the Switch. The Switch 2 looks awesome, but it has some really big shoes to fill. Thank you, Nintendo, for 8 unforgettable years of the Nintendo Switch.